The Lightning Network is an off-chain Layer 2 network that aims to scale the Bitcoin and Litecoin networks to be able to handle anywhere from millions to billions of transactions per second, instantly, through the power of smart contracts. A typical transaction consists of a sender and receiver, in this case Lucy sending Alex some coins directly, and whilst this works fine in most situations, Lucy has to pay a growing transaction fee due to increased demand on the network, limited block space, and on top of that, have to wait for her transaction to confirm. The Lightning Network solves this issue through the use of payment channels, by allowing users to send multiple transactions to and from each other off-chain, in the form of redeemable IOUs. Kinda, sort of. Let me explain. Payment channels use multi-signature addresses and exist between two users for a set period of time, in this case 10 days, which will be represented by the N-lock time. Before Lucy can send any coins into the shared 2 of 2 multi-signature address, she must first get Alex to sign a refund transaction to her for 1. The amount she is going to deposit, and 2. With an N-lock time of 10 days. This ensures that at worst, Lucy has to add her signature to the refund transaction and wait out the 10-day N-lock time before her money is refunded in full to her, in the case that Alex doesn't cooperate. With this, Lucy can now send her coins over and, from here, start signing transactions from the multi-signature address to Alex. During this 10-day time period, Lucy can make numerous half-sign payments to Alex without incurring any transaction fees. However, once Alex adds his signature to a transaction, since it doesn't have an N-lock time, it is committed to the blockchain and their channel is closed. This is an example of a unidirectional channel. If Lucy signs a transaction with an N-lock time of 9 days, meaning it will occur 1 day before the refund transaction, Alex, by signing it, knows that in 9 days' time he will own those coins. As such, he can use it to pay Lucy, simply by creating a new transaction with an N-lock time of 8 days, 1 day before her payment to him, and so on. Each time the payment channel changes direction, the N-lock time must be brought forward by 1 in order to overwrite the previous transactions. This is an example of a bi-directional channel. Things get a bit more complicated when we start adding more people and using 3+ party payments. In this case, Lucy wants to pay Alex, but they don't have a channel open between each other. They do, however, both have existing channels open with Brian, who runs a popular service they both frequent. A similar issue arises here, however, as this system isn't trustless. Brian could choose to keep the coins and claim that he sent them to Alex, and likewise, Alex could claim that, well, Brian never sent him the coins and accuse him of theft. And since there's no record of it on the blockchain, you couldn't prove him wrong. Thankfully, however, the parties here can use hashed time-locked contracts in order to prove payment and resolve this issue. By utilising one-way hash functions, every single party member in this chain, no matter how many, can prove they have paid the next person in the chain. All thanks to some rather clever mathematics. It goes like this. 1. Alex creates a random string represented by the letter S, which will be used to sign transactions. 2. He hashes it, represented by H, and shares H with Lucy. 3. Lucy then shares H with Brian, and they both agree to create an HTLC between them, comprising of a refund transaction to Lucy with an N-lock time of 2 days, and a 100 coin payment to Brian, so long as Brian can produce S. 4. Brian sends Alex H to prove that Lucy has paid him, and they then both agree to create an HLTC between themselves, but this time with a refund N-lock time of 1 day to ensure that their channel closes first. 5. Alex sends Brian S to prove that he is indeed the payee, but instead of using it to broadcast the transaction onto a blockchain, they each agree to novate/remove the contract and update their channel, with a new unencumbered transaction that does not require S for 100 coins to Alex. 6. Brian sends Lucy S, proving that he has paid Alex on her behalf, and they both agree to do the same. At this point, since no one was uncooperative, the entire transaction chain hasn't touched the blockchain, and Lucy has effectively paid Alex. If, however, say Lucy chooses to ignore Brian, Brian can then broadcast their channel along with S onto the blockchain, and it will forcefully pull those funds from her, paying him, so long as he does so before the refund N-lock time on their channel runs out. Otherwise, Lucy is free to redeem her funds, leaving Brian 100 coins poorer. The N-lock time limit then effectively provides as an incentive for every member to react, and both protects and ensures that each party's channel doesn't close before the other, so each can pool funds safe in that knowledge. And that, in essence, is how the Lightning Network works. Whilst this all sounds very complicated to set up and actually get working, the two main developers behind the Lightning Network, Joseph Poon and Thaddeus Taj, are both working on an interface which would hopefully make using it as simple as sending a standard Bitcoin or Litecoin transaction today, meaning it will require no real extra input from a user's perspective, which is very welcome news, not to mention it will go a significant way to helping with its adoption. That of course is not to mention the other benefits that come with this, including reduced blockchain growth as more and more transactions are handled off-chain by the Lightning Network. Oh, and microtransactions, which can actually be a thing now, as users won't be charged a transaction fee until funds are committed from the payment channel onto the actual blockchain. So we won't have to pay 20 cents for the luxury of buying a coffee with Bitcoin. From an average user perspective then, this is pretty good. All we need to do is keep trading our transaction IOUs across the Lightning Network and every now and then update our channels between each other. From the miners, however, not so much, as they will start to receive less and less income from transaction fees. They will, however, still remain a necessary part of the ecosystem. And whilst the Bitcoin and Litecoin networks resemble mesh networks, the Lightning Network will, we imagine, most likely resemble multiple hub networks as it matures, connected to each other where users send funds through one central service, such as an exchange or a crypto bank. This is even more apparent when we start looking into and judging their user statistics, although there will always be the option to open your own private channel if you wish. There are, however, some caveats. Without implementing the necessary transaction malleability fixes, it is not safe or feasible to currently use the Lightning Network. One way to achieve this would be through the use of SegWit or segregated witness, which we previously discussed here. However, whilst SegWit looks set to be activated on Litecoin, it looks far less likely to ever be activated on Bitcoin, meaning we will most likely see the Lightning Network fully in action first on Litecoin, whilst Bitcoin in the meantime searches for another solution. Many thanks to Charlie Lee of Litecoin and Joseph Poon, one of the main developers of the Lightning Network, for helping to inform this script. A reminder that you can stay up to date with everything regarding the Lightning Network and its development by simply following them or visiting their site Lightning.network. And as always, I will see you next time.